Okay, great. Thank you, Vanessa. That was awesome. And hello and welcome everybody to this annual network meeting. I'm Andrew Bisson. I'm a livestock advisor based in USAID, and I have the pleasure and privilege to chair LD4D's steering committee. So we see our illustrious members there, a good-looking bunch. This was taken at a recent steering committee meeting that we held on the sidelines in Rome at an FAO meeting. So wherever you are in the world, and I see the names coming through in the chat and various different locations, wherever you are, welcome on behalf of our steering committee. There are a wide range of organizations represented in our steering committee. And the role of the steering committee is to provide strategic direction to the LD4D network. This meeting, I hope, is an opportunity for you to connect with different members and for you to learn and be updated on the plans and progress that we're making. It's also a chance for you as members to give us feedback, to suggest ways to expand the collaboration and the engagement. We seek to be demand-driven and we must walk the talk. So please be vocal now and later and keep us pointing in the right direction. Give us your feedback. We very much value that. The network continues to grow. We are 800 members strong. And that's a huge group. Perhaps our biggest strength is that the network brings together a range of different disciplines, experts, expertise, different sectors, and different geographies. And that diversity that represents our network allows us to develop a robust understanding of complex data challenges and to respond to them through development of innovative tools and products. Over the past year, we've made solid progress towards our goal of being more demand-driven and more decision-maker focused. In these sessions today, we'll share some of our new knowledge products, which we will use to aim to address data challenges. We'll learn more about the Solutions Group, which is a new collaboration platform we're piloting, targeted very much at decision data needs and decision makers. As I've said, we always love to hear your views on what we're doing, good and bad. We aim to try and deliver what's needed by this vast network. As we've heard, we'll have an interesting series of presentations from amongst our own members, exploring how they've worked and supported decision makers. And then we're excited to hear from Mario. We'll have an exciting keynote from Professor Mario Herrero at Cornell University, on a subject that I've been working quite a lot on. I'm very interested in. It seems very topical: livestock methane, data challenges, misconceptions, and solutions. So we've got a rich and packed meeting. Let's get started. So let's dig in, and handing back over to Anna and Karen, who lead our LD4D Secretariat. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. So I'm up now, just checking the slides. So yeah, welcome everyone. Lovely to see you all. This section is really for the new eggs. Well, some of it's for the new eggs and some of it's for the older broilers, or whatever we've called them. So I just want to give you an update on the year's achievements, and also talk a little bit about what LD4D is about. What are we trying to achieve through it. Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. So for those who are new to the network, your first question might be, what's the big deal about livestock data? Why do we need a network such as LD4D to support data in the livestock sector? The answer is that access to livestock data is particularly challenging for a number of reasons, many of which are outlined in this slide. There is a lack of data, it's hard to find, resources, both people and money, may not be available to improve it, and there's a lack of shared approach to consuming it. For these and other reasons, it was felt that LD4D was needed. Next slide, please. So this is the goal of LD4D, as set out back in 2017, is to drive better livestock decision making in low and middle income countries through improved data and analytics. Next slide. And in recent years, we've had an increased focus on strengthening our commitment to supporting decision makers' data needs. So that's something that has really come on stream in the last couple of years. Next slide, please. So how does LD4D work? So for those of you who are new to the network, the main ways in which we communicate with you are through meetings such as this, through our newsletter, through dedicated webinars, published blogs, published papers and other written materials. We also create a suite of interactive visualizations, some of which you will see later in this meeting, and we hold these all on our community website called livestockdata.org. We also learn from each other through events such as a share fair, which will occur later in this meeting, and through discussions with others in the community, such as the Gender Community of Practice, which we co-host with ILRI. As Andrew mentioned earlier, we have created solution groups, and these are a new type of working group that we are going to roll out, and you'll hear more about those from Anna and Gareth later in this meeting. And we're also, as we move forward, we're going to connect more with decision makers, connect the LD4D network to decision makers. So we're continually evolving and adjusting our offer to the network. Next slide, please. This slide sets out a timeline of LD4D, and we've stuck COVID right in the middle because that played quite an important role both before and after. LD4D was established in 2017, and in the early days we were quite low in numbers, and a lot of our activities were around developing fact sheets and developing data visualizations. Post-COVID, we saw the meeting move online, and the network expanded quite considerably. We created a steering group, and we had a greater focus on supporting decision makers' data challenges. Next slide, please. Andrew mentioned that we've now got over 800 people in the network. Earlier this year, we did an analysis of LD4D just to find out who is within the network. And as you can see, there's been a continual growth over time. Earlier this year, we had over 70 countries represented in the network with almost 400 organizations. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the breakdown by organizational type, with academia being quite a large group, followed by business, non-profit, government, and so on. In the next slide, we can see the breakdown by geography. And here you can see over 50% of the network come from Africa, with just over 10% from Asia. And as you might expect, there's quite a large grouping from North America and Europe. So in my final slide, I would just like to show you some of the highlights from the last 12 months. This sets out some of our achievements and our shift towards becoming more demand-driven. In this meeting, we will share some of our new and developing knowledge products, which aim to address key data challenges. We will also tell you more about the pilot solution groups, which is a collaborative platform that we're currently piloting. So in today's meeting, we would really like to actively encourage you to join the discussion via Menti, the chat box, the Q&A box, and breakout discussions. So please give us your views. You are very important to how this network is shaped. So please take every opportunity to do that. So thank you very much. And I'd now like to hand over to Anna.
So I'm going to tell you a bit more about the solutions groups, which as Karen said, will be piloted next year. Next slide, please. So the solutions groups are a new collaboration platform that we've created, which brings together decision makers and experts from our LD4D network. And they work together on a specific data challenge, and they produce a tailored data tool or knowledge product. They are supposed to have a time frame of 6 to 12 months. So it's a very targeted initiative. Can you go back? Can you go forward again, please? So why have we created a new collaboration platform? Well, we know that there are big gaps between data producers and decision makers, which means that data doesn't always, or data tools and products don't always address the needs of decision making. That in turn leads to low data uptake in decision making. So our motivation is to promote ongoing dialogue and collaboration between our membership and decision makers. We want to harness the wide range of expertise we have in the network to try to bridge the gap between data and decision. So, next slide, please. So our pilot goals are to develop a new model for collaboration, which is very much focused on decision maker needs. We want to also produce case studies with measurable impact and generate learning to inform the scale-up stage. So our hope is that this new collaboration model can be replicated to different contexts. And we are going to use the insights from this pilot to learn and develop this model. So today you'll hear more about this initiative. We'll have a presentation on our first pilot, the Livestock and Climate Finance Solutions Group. So you'll be able to get more details on that. I would love to hear your feedback on this, so please leave your comments on the chat, or if you have any questions, please use the Q&A. It would be great to find out from our membership what would motivate members to participate in the solutions groups. So if you have any thoughts on that, please share them with us. Okay, great. Thank you very much for your feedback. I'm now going to invite Gareth to talk about our first solutions group pilot, Livestock Data and Climate Finance. Over to you, Gareth.
Thanks, Anna. So yes, this is one of the first solution group pilots we've got. And this is all about livestock data and climate finance. So we know that there's increasing interest from those managing livestock development projects to access climate finance to support their work, but also from the climate financiers themselves to support the livestock sector. This has gained a lot of traction since the global methane pledge and the increasing signatories to that. That being said, the livestock sector is still referenced in a very limited way, if at all, in a lot of country NDCs or NAMAs, so determined contributions or appropriate mitigation actions. So this is something that needs support from this sector, from this expertise. The amount of money that is pledged for climate finance is also expected to increase year on year. And we know that some of these climate finance funds are about to start new phases of investments. So this is a timely opportunity for LD4D to get involved and support decision makers here. We know, we have found out through some scoping that there's barriers frustrating the allocation of climate finance to livestock development. A colleague of mine, Francis Ryan, who's also on the call, have been talking to various financiers and stakeholders within this landscape, and we've defined this defined a landscape, as you see on the screen, with some challenges, and laid out some challenges that we could see that LD4D could help. So this is largely being done in collaboration with the Green Climate Fund. They are keen to access the expertise of LD4D. So the mitigation and adaptation narratives, why livestock can be linked to mitigation and climate adaptation, despite us in this room probably having a good understanding of those, or a basic understanding, this is still not widely understood by everybody in different sectors. So there needs to be more communication efforts there. And then the empirical methods behind those, and the expertise required to do these methods and the data required, that is also an area that needs improving. As I said, Green Climate Fund, they're about to start a new round of funding next year, and they have said to us that they want livestock to be a big part of that, so they wanted the support of LD4D. So if I just click to next slide. So if I lay out some of the decision maker challenges, problems that we have come across, the investors to date haven't had significant experience appraising livestock development projects. There hasn't been many climate finance funds to livestock. Green Climate Fund have done one in East Africa, but there hasn't been a lot, so there isn't much experience in appraising them. The supporting entities, the accredited entities that support people applying for these climate funds, they've done a lot of work in crops to date. The expertise transferring that over into livestock is another place where LD4D, or those involved in LD4D, can play a key part. And then the governments or others involved in livestock development who are applying for this climate finance need help in building that case to put forward to climate finance. So it's all the stakeholders in the chain that could benefit from the input of LD4D. So I've just gone a couple of slides too far. There we go. So we had to think about what LD4D could do in response to these challenges, and this has also been worked up with Green Climate Fund as a decision maker customer. The first products that are going to come out of this solutions group, which is about to be formed, is a series of briefs, and these briefs would not be introducing any new information or bringing anything new to the table. These would be about distilling down large volumes of evidence, large volumes of information to be something that can be consumable very quickly and be understood by non-experts or people who aren't familiar with the sector. So these will be 5 to 6 page documents. And the two that we've identified first is, well, the first one is about how we build this narrative around livestock development and why that should receive climate finance. So how livestock development links to emissions, change in emissions, a lot of what Mario touched on earlier, and then also how livestock development can link to increased adaptation for climate. Those two things being what you need to demonstrate to get the funding. The second one would dig a bit deeper into the empirical methods about quantifying emissions and making those consumable and understandable to non-experts so that they can confidently talk about them, confidently understand what's coming out of these tools. For instance, what's the difference between a tier 1 and a tier 2 calculation when it comes to greenhouse gas emissions, and why is that important, what it allows you to do, and how you go about it. There's a couple of other ones that have been scoped out, but it's these two that we'll focus on first as a solutions group. And the expertise to do this exists within this network. There's probably people sat in this call now who have this expertise, and that is what we're trying to bring together to produce these collaborative products that can go out as LD4D briefs. So in conjunction with the production of these documents is also an LD4D matchmaking service. So one of the key things that Green Climate Fund said that they struggled with was knowing who to contact when they had a question, or knowing who to put in touch with someone who's come to them to put a livestock application for funding in. And again, that expertise exists within this network. So what we are going to do is establish a roster of expertise first of all, by sending out a survey to the network, which you'll receive probably next week. So it'd be great if you are interested to fill that in. This roster will gather expertise that can be accessed by somebody who comes to LD4D and says, I need access to a list of experts. This is not going to be an open access document. It's going to, we're going to retain some control over it to see who's using it and what they're using it for. The kind of expertise that we're looking for is quite varied. It does include expertise in modeling greenhouse gas emissions, but then it also includes people who can describe the current livestock production systems in different countries, in different settings, so we can establish baselines. Those that can provide some of the foresight into how livestock production in different countries is evolving and what it might look like in the future. And also just broader livestock development project experience. So in this survey that we will send out, it does describe the whole kind of selection of expertise that we need for this. And it'll be great to have as many people fill that as possible. The hope is that this will lead to potential consultancies. So the value to the individual in filling it out is potential work in the future as well. I think that's towards the end of what I have to say, but I think it would be good if people can post in the chat whether any of these things are immediately of interest and you would like to know more. As I said, we will be sending out some stuff in the coming weeks to give you more information about filling in that questionnaire, but also how you could be involved in the solutions group for producing those briefs. I think that's it from me. Thank you.